Many thanks to Fellow Extraction Squad, one original DayZ servers, Clash of the servers, Sgt. Pepper servers, Sea of Tools Cloud, Dallas, the Struggle Community, the Karma Crew servers, Dots, Designful, and Friendly, a DayZ podcast for making this video possible. DayZ 1.28 has just been released to experimental for us to test, so I'm going to be checking out the new optics, blast some Zeds with the new shotgun, crash a vehicle and then blame the developers for that one, and then die from a hot ejaculation to basically see what 1.28 is all about. The three new optics include the PSO6 attaching to the VSS, VSD, Vega and AK, so it's all of these weapons, and it works very similar to the PSO 4 times, but it has a different reticle as you can see here. The Sportpoint optic is a 2 times magnification optic attaching to hunting weapons, so the Sporter, CR527, Tundra and Blaze, and also the Sword Off Blaze, and will require a battery to be any kind of use. The Marksman optic is the show stealer though. This is the one that everybody wants. It comes in 3 different colours. I didn't know this before. It comes in black, green and tan, and allows up to 10 times magnification, which is variable zoom, with both the PSO 6 times and Marksman optics having the option to power it with a battery to get a red looking reticle instead, but they're perfectly functional without these. Many optics and optical devices will now show cracks when they're damaged or badly damaged, with this looking to include every single optic in the game now, so the hunting optic, night vision goggles, binoculars and the rangefinder too. When ruined, all of these are still usable, including the night vision goggles, but the cracks make it very difficult to see, as you can see or as you cannot see. The rangefinder can be looked through too, but it won't measure distances when it's ruined, with it now having a new heads-up display here, showing the point-to-point meters, the distance on the horizontal plane, and the angle off the horizon you're looking at the object or surface. I'll go into more depth on this in the guide. Sway has changed to be far less erratic while standing and crouched, but I didn't notice any significant differences while prone, and I only tested the Tundra without looking at any of the numbers in the game files. I'll need to do a dedicated video to know the exact changes to sway, but for now it does look like we have less sway in this patch. The rangefinder still has the same sway though, best used when standing for whatever reason. Being prone makes it sway more. The dispersion or accuracy of the Tundra didn't look to be changed either, but more testing is needed here too, as a dev stated dispersion increased on weapons by a moderate amount, so perhaps other weapons will be moderately less accurate this patch. Again, more time required to find that stuff out. What I do know though is that the M4 is still quite easy to control, with the dev stating slightly increased weapon recoil for most rifles. The M4 has a touch more recoil this patch, but not a noticeable difference when handling it, and you're still able to laser beam people with it, as you can see here. Other weapons will be tested in a later video. In that video I'll also go over weapon raising changes, which appears to not be on all weapons. As you can see here with the Tundra, there is no tucking in here, it just raises straight away, working the same as it did last patch. But all other weapons I tested did have this tuck mechanic, where you pull the weapon back slightly, as you can see with the M4, so this might have just been an oversight. With other weapons you will be able to tuck your gun to your side like this, with the weapon still being fireable in this position, and this being a monstrous improvement compared to the jank we had to deal with before, such as window pillars no longer being an issue with medium-sized weapons, likely applying to most if not all objects that would normally lift your weapons, so this is a great fix. Now it isn't perfect when it comes to infected for medium-sized weapons, as demonstrated here with the M4. Every single click that you hear is my ability to fire, so the gaps in clicks is how often I'm unable to shoot. This isn't an issue with handguns. They will certainly be the go-to when you're swarmed by infected, and this fix is a really frustrating part of the game where you get trapped inside corners with infected and you cannot raise your weapon. It also appears that infected take more damage from our firearms too, as the Mark II here used to be 5 shots to the torso of an infected to kill it, and now it's 4, so perhaps there's a 20% damage boost versus infected now. The other weapon changes are the sounds of non-automatic weapons, so I got it wrong in my last video, it's non-automatic weapons. To give you an example, here is the VSD. This is the Tundra. And this is the Blaze single and double shot. I'll go over all the sound changes soon. The only dynamic event I could find on my server is a fishing boat. I did reset my server a few times and played with the settings, but I couldn't get them to spawn. I don't believe the others are spawning correctly at the moment, but I'll do a video on this too to see what spawns at each of the dynamic spawn points. For now, I spawn them manually. So the dynamic events that are confirmed by the developers are the heli crashes on Sakau, the patrol boats, the fishing boats and the ambulance situations. So all of these are going to be for Sakau, and I believe the tyre fire is also for Sakau, which has the exact same code as other dynamic events. This is pretty much confirmed that it will be a dynamic event that spawns similar to dynamic events. And finally we have supply crates. Now I don't know if the tyre fire or supply crate dynamic event will be happening in 1.28, but it certainly does look like it's coming to Sakau soon. As confirmed on stream, the PM73 RAK or the RAK 37 is back in the game. It handles very nicely for a low tier weapon, got no complaints here. A weapon that wasn't confirmed though is the R12. Credit to Cosmo for this one, a semi-automatic shotgun that looks badass and will probably be one of, if not the favourite shotgun among many out there. This weapon is in the game files, is obviously spawnable in the game and has animations and sounds tied to it, so either there's going to be another update during the experimental to showcase this weapon to release it, or this weapon is for 1.29 and they accidentally added all the animations and everything. I believe it's going to be for this patch 1.28. Either way, it's a formidable weapon and I will cover it soon in more detail. The sound of vehicles have been massively reduced when you're in first person inside vehicles, when you have all the doors on your vehicle. But third person is just as loud as it was last patch. The biggest change to vehicles though goes to the upgraded networking, which will help people during high ping and just their general feel now. Immediately after getting in a vehicle I felt the difference, but I'm not 100% sure exactly what the difference is. So to put the feelings into words, they simply feel tighter, more grounded, and you feel more in control compared to last patch. It's almost as if they stripped out the entire code that was there for DayZ from the last patch and they just threw the Reforger code in there, just slammed it in there, and it just seems to work. We knew Reforger code was going to be applied to DayZ vehicles this patch, but we didn't know to what extent, and it feels like they've just completely replaced it. This code potentially fixes the janky vehicles in DayZ that we've become accustomed to. Now, during my brief test there were some issues, but other than this it was pretty pleasant to drive around in DayZ. I've always been afraid to crash the vehicle in DayZ because they just feel so uncontrollable, but now they feel like less floaty and you can control it more. I can't explain it. I would highly recommend giving them a go to fully understand how they're different. 4 different but the same leaf crowns have been added to the game this patch. They're in the game files, I'm not sure if they're spawning, representing the 4 different seasons of the year, so they're probably a seasonal event item. Hot spring eruptions were added and they don't appear to erupt as much as they were on the stream, but from my brief test they can one-shot a player if you're too close to the eruption when it happens. I didn't get any footage of this happening in real time because I had to wait an hour for one eruption to happen and I didn't even see it erupt. So here's the footage from the stream to show you what it looks like. Also from the stream we got the new cave ambience, but this is only in the Easter egg cave. All other caves appear to not have this ambience in them, but that might be coming later in the experimental phase. One thing we have less of now though is the teeth chattering that a lot of players didn't like in the last patch, because this is what it sounds like now. Zombie footstep sounds have also been massively reduced too, but players can still be heard at roughly the same distances, pending further tests. You can no longer repair improvised clothing with rags, so you'll need a sewing kit or duct tape to repair improvised clothing, or you can just craft it again. And finally, you can no longer swim with heavy items in your hands, so any item that makes you slow walk like this will drop the item to the floor when you start swimming. And by floor, I do mean floor, so when you go into deep water and you start swimming, the item could become unreachable. I'll go into more detail on each category I mentioned in this video, as this is simply a first look to showcase all the new stuff in this patch. So if you have any questions you want me to answer on these topics, you know what to do, and let me know your initial take on 1.28. Do you like this stuff? Do you hate it? Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.